Welcome to the movies, pal. Your friendly neighborhood Master Chaos back with you once again. I'm drinking a coffee. I mean, I always drink a coffee, but specifically today because today is the first ever Buy Me a Coffee sponsored Master Chaos Theater. Now, for those of you who don't know, very briefly, I've started a Buy Me a Coffee page to help me keep the channel going and support the channel, and as a way for you to support your old pal, Master Chaos. Link down below and in the description if you so wish to do so. What do you get if you donate to me, if you buy me a coffee? You get to pick a movie for me to review here on Master Chaos Theater. Now, I'll be honest. I'm going to give you my honest thoughts on the movies. Love it or hate it, because that's what you expect from your old pal, Master Chaos. Of course, it's not a reflection on you for having, suggested said movie. So today's our first Buy Me a Coffee review, and this comes from a fellow subscriber, Paul Beau Parlant. Now, I'm sorry if I butchered your last name. I do apologize. Anyway, Paul, this is for you. You chose Nurse Sherry from 1978, directed by Al Adamson and starring the tits of Marilyn Joy. First of all, Paul, thank you very much for donating to the channel. It means the world to me. It really does. I'm sending some extra good vibes your way. Now, Nurse Sherry, what a choice. This was released twice. Of course, Vinegar Syndrome put it out a while back. And most recently, Severin Films has put it out in their mega Al Adamson box set. Now, I didn't get the Adamson box set, namely because I've seen Adamson's movies, and not to put too fine a point on it, they're awful. Is Nurse Sherry as awful as the rest of Al Adamson's oeuvre? Well, I'm pleasantly surprised. And I'm going to surprise the hell out of you by saying that it's not that bad. I realize that's not a ringing endorsement of the movie. Don't get me wrong. It's not a good movie. It's not a good movie. It doesn't make any sense. It moves a little too slow. There's too many weird subplots. But overall, compared to the rest of Adamson's movies, this is kind of great. I mean, in a sliding scale. The movie is about, of course, the titular Nurse Sherry. She works in a hospital, and one day this cult leader is brought in. He's had a heart attack, and, he runs this weird kind of desert cult, and they want to bring some guy back to life, but it doesn't work, and you think, well, he's just a bullshit artist who doesn't really have any powers, but when he dies, it turns out he does? It's very unclear what happened, but essentially what happens is he becomes a green mist ghost energy ball, and he possesses Nurse Sherry, probably because she's got amazing knockers, which we kind of get to see. Kind of. At least in the version I saw, you kind of just see a little side boob. Anyway, beside the point, she gets possessed by this cult leader, and we have essentially a Carrie/Exorcist ripoff. I will say the film was shot on 16mm, at least most of it. I think parts of it were filmed in 35, but most of it is 16mm. So the version I watched, which was the Vinegar Syndrome print, I guess. I did watch it streaming. I found it streaming on some site, Tulu, Pluxy, something like that. I've never even heard of it, but I found it through IMDb. You can watch it there. I was able to watch the movie that way and get this review out because I wanted to get it out as soon as possible to honor my Buy Me a Coffee supporters. The movie looked bad. I mean, it's it's remastered as much as possible. I know there was issues with the print and things like that, but the movie looks bad. I mean, it doesn't look like they did anything to it. There's scratches. There's bleeps and bloops. There's dirt. There's grime on the things. There's cuts. It doesn't look great, but that kind of adds to the fun of it, in my opinion. I loved going to the New Beverly here in Los Angeles and then saying, hey, this is a really old print. It's kind of pink, and kind of scratchy. And everyone would go, woo! Because that's how you want to see those type of movies. I don't necessarily want to see a 4K restored version of Nurse Sherry, but watching it grimy, kind of washed out, a little bit blown out, the colors are almost too vibrant and too dull at the same time, I'm okay with that. That adds to the effort of the filmmaker. That adds to the ambiance. That adds to the mise en scène of the whole damn thing. So that worked for me. But just keep that in mind. If you're trying to find the perfect version of Nurse Sherry, now I don't know if the 7 box set is any different, or if they use the same transfer. I'm going to guess they did. But the version I saw was ugly. I mean, it looked ugly. Let's be honest. But then, sometimes what can you do? What can you do? You just have to get Nurse Sherry out into the world, no matter what. The best part of the movie is not even a scary or demon-related part at all. It's a car chase. There's an insane car chase in this movie. One in which I think they actually caused a real accident by accident. The camera is stationed inside the backseat of the car, and we're following one car chase another car. By the way, it doesn't even have to happen. The chase just happens. It could have been solved with a conversation, but it was one of those things where, hey, no, I don't want to talk to you. Okay, I want to chase you. That kind of thing. But it's fine. The car chase is amazing. The camera is in the backseat, and we're seeing these stunts happen, and you really feel like you're in the damn scene. That's such a rare feat for these kind of movies, to actually shock me by the intensity of their action sequences. Sometimes those action sequences are pretty lame. Here, the car chase is the standout scene in this movie. That's not saying much. I guess the other standout scene is when a nurse goes into a patient's room and says, hey, don't worry, you're going to have an operation, but let me give you a blowjob first. Essentially, that's what happens. We don't see it, but, the soundtrack for this is also amazing. It's super spooky. Like, woo, that kind of like Halloween-y type spooky music. Fantastic music throughout. While the plot is essentially a Exorcist ripoff with Nurse Sherry being possessed on and off. Like, sometimes she doesn't even know if she's possessed. And then all of a sudden she snaps into it. And then somehow the ghost can exist outside of Sherry and do things like move things around. It's not really explained. There's not a lot of explanation in here, but that's okay. That's all right. You kind of cut this movie a lot of leeway. If you go into it understanding that it's not a great movie, it's not a masterpiece of horror cinema or anything like that. It's just a fun watch. And at the end of the day, we need those. We need fun watches. Should you buy it? Well, I'll say this. If you have the Amazon box set, you have it already. If you don't, should you get it on the VS halfway to Black Friday sale? Am I going to get it? I'm not going to get it. I'll put it that way. I won't pick it up. I think I'm good with a one-time watch. I hear there's a really good commentary on it and things like that. Right now, I'm not jumping on it. I may change my mind down the line. So if that's an indication as to whether you should get it or not, there you go. But you can see it for free on whatever streaming service. I don't even remember of it. I don't even remember the name of it. Plexi? It might have been that. Plex? Go to IMDb, type in Nurse Sherry. It'll show you where you can see it for free. At least that's how I saw it. Anyway, I would pass overall, but it is a fun watch. What is my star rating? Easy. This one's going to get... should I be nice? I'm going to be nice because this is for Paul. I know Paul's a fan of this movie. I'm going to give it 3 stars. I'm going to give Nurse Sherry 3 stars for a handful. Number one, because Paul's a good dude and Paul's an early supporter. So it instantly raises up a star because it's got already good feelings attached to the movie. And some movies mean things to us because they have good feelings attached to us. Even if they're maybe terrible movies, I remember that was my first kiss, or that was, the first movie I saw with my dad. So even if it's something crap, if it has a good feeling attached to it, it will change your opinion. So 1 star already for Paul. 2nd star for that car chase. That was a great car chase. Amazing, amazing, amazing car chase. And the 3rd, probably for the busty women in this movie. You only get to see Marilyn Joy. But Nurse Sherry, Jill Jacobson, I believe her name is. See some side boobs, that's pretty nice. Overall, the movie is pretty goofy, pretty rough, pretty amateurish. The acting isn't great. The plotting is kind of all over the place. It's got a little bit of gore. It's got some boobies. It's got pseudo-mystical undertones with this cult leader ghost. It's a fun ride. You know what? It even wraps up satisfyingly. A lot of these movies don't. This has a pretty satisfying wrap-up. An interesting take when taking into account that the movie is solved by the supporting characters. That's never happened before. Usually the lead is the hero. Here the lead and the male lead are off doing their own thing, and the supporting characters save the day. That's a first. 3 stars overall for Nurse Sherry. Well, that'll do, Bugaboo. Thank you so much for checking out this review of Nurse Sherry. It's time to close the theater down. Paul, thank you so much again. Your support means the world to me. It makes this worthwhile. Me, sitting in a dark room, looking like a weirdo with these glasses on and talking into the camera makes it all worthwhile for people like you to support me. So thank you so much. That means the world to me. Now, I had planned on doing Paul Naschy movies for the next 6 or so Mastercast theaters. That's been derailed because of the Buy Me a Coffee. And you know what? It's a good derailment because my supporters come first. I will, while I wait for some other supporters to come back with their suggestions, be doing Panic Beats next. Paul Naschy's Panic Beats. It just came out on Mondo Macabre. I'll be doing that next time on Mastercast Theater, so stay tuned for that. For now, my friend, I bid you adieu. Paul, you're the man. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support. And as for you, my friend, if you so wish to be a supporter and pick a movie from Master Chaos Theater, link down below. Buy me a coffee, and you get to pick a movie. And anything. I mean, I can't really do porn, but yeah. Pretty much anything that you suggest is an awesome movie that maybe I haven't talked about. And if I've seen it or reviewed it, then you'll pick something else. So don't worry. We'll eventually end up with something. Okay, that's it for Master Chaos Theater. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. You mean the world to me. You really do. Our time together means the world to me. Let's call it a day before I start crying here. Master Chaos Theater, signing out. I gotta pull the curtain across the silver screen here and clean up all the popcorn and all this soda and junk. So until we meet again, remember, I love you just the way you are. And I remain to be continued.